Belize, Central America, at the beginning of the 21st century. Squeezed between Mexico and Guatemala on the Caribbean Sea, Belize is a small country struggling to survive in a global economy. Best known as a sunny tourist destination, Belize also exports bananas, citrus, shrimp, and lumber from its dwindling forests. Some Belizeans are benefiting from the growing economy, but many are experiencing the social problems that accompany development. The Toledo district of southern Belize, near the end of the 13th Bactun of the Maya calendar. Maya prophecies say this cycle of more than 5,000 years will end with a great cataclysm. Pedro Maquin is a 23-year-old Maya who lives in the village of Indian Creek. A year from now, this road will be paved. Pedro's biking will be easier, but the pavement threatens to upset the balance of life for Pedro and thousands of other Maya. Pedro, his grandfather and father, are keeping alive the ancient Maya tradition of using wood from the forest to make music. In many ways, Pedro and his family live a simple life, in harmony with the world around them, much as their ancestors did. Today, the pressure to develop their ancestral lands is threatening the harmony of the Maya's way of life. Pedro is a field worker for BIDI, the Belize Indigenous Training Institute. The biodiversity of the rainforest provides hundreds of medicines for the Maya healers. Their knowledge of the treasures the forest has to offer is what Pedro is working to preserve.
I work with the healers. The information that I gathered with them is not taught to me in school, but I get to learn a lot from these elders with the tradition, with the some stories, with the uses of medicinal plants, the preparation, the type of sickness or the sickness that they heal with the medicinal plants. This plant is used for birth control purposes. For a person who likes to drink, when he drinks the liquid of this plant, the person will automatically stop drinking. And then the bark of this tree is used to treat ulcer. And then, well, the healers have another way how to do things, no? Like if like let's say a man or a woman is willing to marry somebody, or they really love to have somebody, the healers have a special way how to attract a woman or a man to live together. They use the name of this plant to attract. It's just the sweet word or the sweetness of the prayers, and then they do the job. Each healers know like 500 or 600 medicinal plants. And whenever we go out into the jungle to do collection of medicinal plants, they interchange idea. So now I know that the healers know a lot of plants. Maybe they double the amount that they know before.
Pedro and the healers are working against time. The rainforest is under attack from an ever-widening array of threats.
there's a saying, an Indian without land is a dead Indian. And the Maya people have lived on this land for many centuries. They know to till the soil, they know this has been their survival for many years. So we care for the forest, we care for the rivers, we care for the hills, we care for everything that has to do with our environment.
The major issue here is the fact that we have land, we have resources, but legally it does not belong to us, even though we believe that we inherited. We'd like to have a homeland where we can run the place and develop it in the way we see fit. But that no longer is possible, given the situation, the circumstances in which we find ourselves in the 21st century.
The banana plantation, for example, they spray chemicals in the air, and then those people who are living around the area get affected now. Likewise, the citrus farming, the logging, these are things that brings problems to the environment, and then they affect more forests than the milpa practice.
Milpa is the Maya's traditional method of farming. Small sections of the forest are cleared and farmed. When a section is no longer producing good crops, it is left to be reclaimed by the forest. This practice worked in harmony with the forest, but when logging and commercial farming arrived, the balance was lost.
This idea of environmental protection came saying that we should not cut the tree, but how can the Mayan people live if they don't cut the tree for milpa plantation? They will not have the chance to live. They don't have a lot of income. They do not have places to work or earn their income, so they cannot live.
This is the highway, that was the southern highway, and it comes to Punta Gorda, but it will start from this area and will go that way through San Antonio, Santa Cruz, Rio Blanco, Santa Elena, Pueblo Viejo, and into Guatemala. So this highway is going to connect Belize to Guatemala in the southern area. And that brings a lot of opportunities, but it also brings a lot of threats to the area. The highway becomes a threat to us because of the fact that we still don't legally own our land and which is recognized under Belizean law. If these people come, they can just go to the government and apply, and they'll be afforded a lease or a title to any area in the area where we live, which I see as a threat. But the highway in itself is good. It will help us to move our products and produces to Guatemala, because they now do it by horseback. But with the highway, it will just be easier to do it.
We are not against logging as people would want to think, but we would want a logging that would respect our way of life, respect the environment, make sure that they do not damage it as they want to.
The Malaysian logging concessions were given in this area. They were total an amount of 500,000 acres, and started in this area and it went up that way to the Columbia Forest Reserve. It's considered by the government as national land. So it did not matter if Santa Teresa was in there. Santa Teresa is on national land, according to them, so the Malaysians were given logging concessions right through without regard.
We found out that the Malaysian company was not going to do any sustainable logging. It was going to be clear cutting that they were going to do. So we said, hey, you have to hold on, because then this is our plan. This is the way we'd want to see things begin to work. And so we had to approach our leaders and tell them, listen, this cannot continue. We need these people to respect our environment. There are many communities right now that still depend on the rivers and the creeks for survival. They get their drinking water from the river, they get the cooking water from the river, they do their washing in the river. We have seen these loggers with their trucks. Some of them change the truck oil at the river banks, and they throw the oil in the river. And then the people downstream don't know about these things. They pick up this, take it to their homes, and the trouble that they carry home, they don't know.
Members of the tourism industry in Belize look at our area as very, very green meadows where they would like to be here because we still have our forests intact, the rivers are unpolluted. Of course, we as a people, the Maya people, they would use as a selling point because of our history and our culture. So yes, it is a challenge because they have the capacity, they have the capital to invest, and we don't necessarily have all those.
A lot of ecotourism that is brought by outside people like foreigners, that this type of development brings a lot of negative things to us. They only steal our knowledge and make business. This is something that we have to really be careful on.
Across the road from Pedro's hometown of Indian Creek, a developer has recently turned a large tract of land into a resort.
The land they have 8,945 acres. That's too much. They told us that they're going to provide job for the community, and now they are not providing job for the community. He said again from the very beginning, if you need a leaf, sticks for a house, ask a permission, I can give you. But when the people go ask a permission, he doesn't give no permission. He playing game with the village, you know. But village respect the private land, but it doesn't respect the community land, you know.
The major threat is government leases being issued in what we normally know as the Indian reservations. How are we going to protect the land that was protected once under the reservation status? We consider areas such as the Mayan temples as important for us to manage. If you happen to work near a Mayan temple, you can only access that by the permission of the archaeology department, which I think again is another thing that is disrespectful to us. Yeah.
Yes, he said that sometimes they take traditional healers as evildoers. They perform witchcraft. That is the way they look at the traditional healers. Like I said, religion influences us a lot.
I grew up in a Christian home. I have abandoned it since then, but I grew up with that kind of environment. We didn't listen to traditional music. We did not perform traditional dances. We didn't attend any traditional ceremony. It prevented me from learning a lot of the things that I should have as a Maya. And I am just one of the many cases. Definitely the works of a lot of church groups have affected our culture because of their teachings that prevents us to do things that we normally do as a Maya. I would prefer that they'd leave us alone because I consider it cultural genocide. You come and you try to convert people. It's an insult. It's an arrogance. You totally disrespect the people when you do that. Wherever I go to America, to Canada, to wherever in Central America, I don't go and try to change people to being a Maya. That's not my job, and I don't want to do that because the more culturally diverse the world is, the more we can enjoy one another.
For help protecting their land, the Maya looked to other indigenous people of the world. Thousands of miles to the north, they found willing partners in the Aboriginal peoples of Canada.
There was historically an attempt to erase the identity and the knowledge base of Indigenous people so that same basic impulse of colonialism to think that there's one size fits all in terms of culture and knowledge, and to deny the contributions, the intellectual contributions, the social, the medical contributions of indigenous peoples. That's been similar around the world.
Sheila Watt-Cloutier is president of the Inuit Circumpolar Conference of Canada.
The Biddy project.
Well, the relationship has had to start from, scratch, as I say, from '94, never having met Belize. I've never heard of Belize before '94 myself as a country. And I'm sure they had never connected, of course, with Inuit people in the Arctic. I mean, it's almost an unlikely relationship that has been developed here, but as sometimes these events would have it, the universe has other plans for us.
Our indigenous partners are mainly the Inuit from Canada and the organization, the ICC, the Inuit Circumpolar Conference. They have played a very vital role in assisting us to develop the project. The focus of the relationship is to develop our capabilities here, the local Mayas here, so that we can learn to do these things on our own.
Belize now is benefiting at the grassroots level by getting some of these micro projects started, the furniture building, the basket weaving, the jewelry making. These kinds of things are already evident in the communities itself there.
This is the tree that is used for the furniture, right? Like for the legs and all the pieces. This is almost precise.
In today's world, the Maya need cash for everything, from buying simple cooking utensils to paying for their children's education.
The best one.
Pedro is working on projects that help the Maya earn an income from the forest, but in ways that do not upset the ecological balance.
The front legs.
Ini?
Mana? We want to market these products. So we have already sold many of the basket, the kashtan, but we want to have a regular shipment of the products into resorts or into gift shops, so that we keep the people in the group busy, and then in that way they earn their income. They can depend on this. They can improve their living conditions.
Mrs. Weiwei is working on a basket made from the Jippy Japa plant. It will be sold in the market to tourists who have no idea how much labor has gone into this simple object.
We have to make a day off to go to the bush, I think 5 or 6 miles away from our house, to cut the Jippy Japa. When we come in, we are tired, we have to rest. Then the next day we have to sit down a whole day to clean the Jippy Japa. Sometimes for a small basket, when we sell it for $5, it takes us 2 days to make that basket. But because of the lack of income for us, and especially us mothers, we cannot take no jobs out. So I think that is a big opportunity for us to secure funding for our children to go to school.
Pedro is learning the ancient art of healing from his grandfather, Albino.
This is the 50 acres of land that we got from the cooperative. We have 10 traditional healers at this moment who are working along when we started. They are putting their interest to come and work at the 50 acres, so to domesticate the plants.
Pedro is working with the traditional healers to turn 50 acres of rainforest into a medicine garden. Medicinal plants transplanted from distant locations act as a backyard pharmacy, giving the healers easy access to many medicines.
it's very clear that our students need to have a global perspective, that learning is not confined to one province or one location. And so to understand how the systems work across the world, to understand the situation of people in other parts of the world, and to have the interchange of ideas and enthusiasm is really important.
Paula Rebhan is a 23-year-old Métis woman from Saskatchewan. She is in Belize to work with traditional healers as part of an international internship program run by the Saskatchewan Indian Federated College.
I was very, very excited to learn that I was going to be working with the healers, and learned how open they were with sharing knowledge, and how they wanted youth up here to learn.
We were having Paula to work with the traditional healers on a regular daily activities, no?
I was wondering if the healers, with using different plants, I know we've talked before that they have plants that treat breast cancer and different kinds of cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a plant that they use or they've tried to use for HIV or?
As I said earlier, that he said that in the group they were saying that there are plants that that they can treat that type of disease. No, but he said that nobody reached to him with that type of sickness, and then he doesn't know if these plants work. But he's not telling me which plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if you have a problem with blood, do you use more red candles?
Paula has been invited to the home of healer Francisco Cal. Francisco shares with her the Maya philosophy of the connection between healing and spirituality.
That is what our body forms. The contents of the red stands for the blood, the black stands for the hair or the head, the yellow stands for the skin, the body, the white stands for the bones.
We began working with the traditional healers in 1998. This idea came to help ourselves or to help our people when they get into problems like snake bite, have problems with which the hospital cannot heal, no? That is why the healers take into consideration that we have to do something for the people or the public to know that we exist.
Through their connection with the Inuit, the Maya have enlisted the services of Dr. John Arneson, an ethnobotanist from Canada. His mission is to develop practical methods of processing medicinal herbs. This will help the healers to make a living by packaging and selling them in the marketplace.
This is a very ancient people with a very long tradition, and they're from that area, and it's a tropical forest area. Primary tropical forests have the largest diversity on the planet. In fact, 70% of all plant species come from tropical forests. The traditional knowledge of this area is extremely important as a world heritage because we're not talking about common species that are distributed worldwide. We're talking about species in Belizean forests, these humid tropical forests that might be quite unusual and produce very interesting new medicines.
After gathering the plants he needs to treat a particular ailment, healer Francisco Cal offers prayers of thanks for the medicines he has taken from the forest. That evening, he uses his preparations to help a young woman who suffers from chronic headaches.
The issue for the Maya is that they're living in the modern world and they need to make a living. So we're looking at some of the possibilities where we might be able to improve the economic condition of the traditional healers by commercializing a few selected materials. More or less looking at what the traditional healers might be able to produce for their own villages. If we can give them technologies where they can harvest and dry these plants and store them so that they'll have them year-round instead of having to run off into the bush at midnight when someone comes in sick to see them. Also, there might be a few things that could be sold on the local city markets in Belize, in Punta Gorda or Belize City. Here's an interesting curiosity that I thought you might like to see.
Dr. Arneson and his graduate student, Virginie Treveau, have traveled to Belize and are working out of the research station in the medicine garden. They are working with the healers to identify and catalog all the medicinal plants they use.
Or a person comes along and starts bothering the plant, what will happen is the ants will all run out and attack.
This also can help the healers to have some of the plants that goes out of season. Whenever they collect it, they can store it in a dry place so that they can continue use the medicinal plants. So that is basically what is the idea. We'll do the same with all the medicinal plants that the healers use.
Peter Vandervoot is a Canadian mapping expert and a specialist in global positioning technology. He is teaching the Maya mapping techniques that help the Inuit settle land issues in the Arctic.
I think that's going to be the fastest computer in Belize right now.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, in state of the art. Yeah, 2002 model.
2002 model.
GPS stands for Global Positioning System. The idea came out of the US military, where they wanted to have a way for people on the ground to know exactly where they were. The way we're going to use this tomorrow is that when we go for a walk with one of the healers, you'll be taking the GPS unit and start off on the walk. You take a waypoint reading, let's say, and then it will keep track of the route as you walk. And then every time that we stop somewhere, he's going to tell us something interesting about that spot. Then we'll take a mark and we'll enter that location. Then after that's all over, we'll take all these coordinates and enter them into the computer at the mapping center. And then we'll create a map of all these, of the route and of the waypoints.
Press this twice.
If we're ready to move, just once.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because right now it's averaging, but it says the question is saved. So when you push enter, it'll have saved it.
Okay. Yeah.
With the help of satellites and a handheld mapping device, Pedro is learning to document how the forests are being used by the Maya. This information is a powerful tool. It will help the Maya gain a say in decisions the government of Belize makes about the development of Maya ancestral land.
Ma pariyalak parta pimain. Ma parung kakil ka nakataw ba? Ko chal sa isning kal chabila litotahi maka.
That is a very important plant. This is the first time we have seen this, but he know the use of it. Whenever a person has cough, he's coughing, and then that plant is used to treat that type of sickness. It might not grow at 50 acres due to the heat, due to the dryness there. I'm thinking that maybe we can leave it here. We know that it's here, and then it is good that it multiplies here, so that we have a lot. We cannot assure if this area is not going to be cut by farmers to make milpa, and then if that is done well, we just lose it.
It would be beneficial if we could, if you could eventually have, the 50-acre site plus another site like this environment, so that you could have plants survive in this area.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Punta Gorda is a small coastal town and the unofficial capital for the Maya in Belize. The GPS information gathered in the forest is brought back to be processed at the mapping center.
On Tuesday, the walk that we did with the healers, we're going to look at how it goes from the GPS unit onto the computer. Now we're looking at the actual GPS readings that you and I both took. So for the collection of medicinal plants, which is what we were doing here, this could be a very important area right now, even though there's not that much primary forest left.
Where we made the turn, about here, there is a new milpa that is being cleared now. We need to find location where medicinal plants are that will not be disturbed or destroyed now.
The Inuits were using maps to show where they used the land, why it was important, and that they needed this land for their livelihood and for their sustainability. Coal management is very important up there, and it's used up there, and it's in place now. And one of the reasons is that they have all the land use on maps that they can use in negotiations with the government.
The mapping and the data collection on the natural and cultural resources is key in developing any type of co-management that we'd like to have. This co-management process will help us to collect information and also to educate our people about how we can manage these things. So we want to share this management of our resources with the government.
So I'll put some markers on here so that we know exactly how to lay this map down. We should probably tape it down, actually. We'll have to do that. We'll get some masking tape. We'll get these other maps out of the way.
With their intimate knowledge of the terrain, the healers are helping Peter and Pedro create detailed land usage maps.
Okay, lines is what we
And here's two bridges.
That is the bridge here. So he lives on top of the hill here.
Okay.
He makes his milpa in areas here.
Yeah, that's okay, because it doesn't really matter specifically who's using it. It's more what we're interested in is what land is used for.
At a meeting in Indian Creek, the maps are a welcome new tool which are helping the community deal with complicated land and boundary issues.
May be what those individual community mappers came up
Bill
with.
Kemp is Peter Vandervood's boss and a land management expert. He worked for many years in the Arctic, helping the Inuit and Cree develop co-management programs with the Canadian government. The Inuit Circumpolar Conference brought him to Belize to share his experience with the Maya. This knowledge will help the Maya negotiate with the government of Belize.
The villages in relationship to other land needs that they may eventually require.
What was agreed along with the Minister of Natural Resources in early, I think, 1999, that the area that overlaps is on dispute, that nobody would go do farming.
Ilomak, Pitoship, Ichik, Rukena, big boundaries, Rukena between Golden Stream and Indian Creek. Nimpa nakakahon, ganun ako ay Rokan.
There is a need to get to these Mayan leaders, I think, to do something to start demarcating these village boundaries. I think it's an important thing that we have to start doing.
The change in the past has been slow, and it has helped us to recognize the importance of our culture. But we also recognize the importance of adopting new means of living and new ways of doing things. And we're not running away from that. We expect that to happen and we welcome that. But we don't want these changes to deprive us of what we as Belizeans should have and what we as Mayas should have.
On October 8, 2001, Hurricane Iris smashed into southern Belize, destroying homes, wiping out crops, and flattening a swath of rainforest. The Medicine Garden and its research station took a direct hit. Paula Rebhan was in the nearby village of Indian Creek when the storm hit.
The sound was so intense. You can't describe it because it was hitting tin roof and water was coming underneath the walls and over top the walls, and it was the first time I think I thought, okay, I could not go home. I could die.
The herbarium is totally in a mess. The plants that we have here, they are collected from different areas. An example here, we could still read the document from it. It's the Chikbabak number 2. It's the location. This came from Halakte. It's an epiphyte. It's found in primary forest, but the forest is not found anymore. Collected by Vertini Trivat and myself.
To keep the medicine garden alive, the healers try to recreate the canopy provided by the trees destroyed in the hurricane.
After the hurricane, all the plants lose their leaves, but when we put up shades, we can see that the plants are coming back with leaves, because these plants used to live under thick forest. We collected them, and then we thought that nothing was going to happen to the area here, but actually everything is gone. This one has some good leaves, which is a sign of the work that we have done, providing shade, and then you can see some of the improvements of what we have been doing, no? Probably the trees might come back in the next 5 years, so that we have sufficient canopies up again. We hope to have everything back if there is no other hurricane next year. We cannot really tell right now that everything is going to survive. We are just trying our best.
When the Hurricane Iris hit the house, it hit it right on the igandong, right on the side.
After the hurricane, materials to rebuild are scarce. Well-intentioned relief organizations have provided modern building materials, but a tin roof is a poor replacement for the thatch.
We really use the thatch house when dry seasons come. It's cooler to stay under the thatch house, you know. People, they're going to miss the thatch house. Yeah.
After much hard work, the medicine garden is ready for Pedro, Paula, and the healers to begin replanting.
By keeping this garden functioning, you're ensuring that these plants will survive, even if some of the forest will be destroyed, or either by logging or man or milpa, or by hurricane or fire or something.
Yeah, because the healers will have a lot of work during this dry season to keep everything alive.
For the first time since the hurricane, howler monkeys are heard near the medicine garden. The healers know this is a sign of the rebirth of the forest. In the village of Big Falls, an evening of music combines Old World and New World traditions. This ability to absorb the new into the old is a major factor in the Maya survival.
With the tradition, you cannot get anywhere if you only work with tradition. But if you know a little bit of how to apply the new technology to that, it can work together so that we can see that we are doing something.
That's something I think that's missing in contemporary society a lot of times, where there's almost a worship of technique and technical knowledge and not enough understanding about how to use that in a beneficial way for everyone. Knowledge is a good thing, but it is a powerful thing, and there has to be some wisdom to go with it, so that what I think in terms of a human goal, a goal of wisdom is a good goal. Knowledge is kind of one step in that direction.
I think there are great things that can happen from such nurturing and establishing of strong bonds together. The sky, I think, is going to be the limit as to what can be created. If we can reclaim our indigenous wisdom and start to think creatively, then we will be able to come out with things that nobody has ever thought of before.
I worked with some amazing people, with healers, and saw where they wanted to take their community and their youth, and I can bring that back here and try to work with elders here and do that as well.
I feel ashamed. Maybe it's only me that wants this or me to see a difference. Most of our young people does not care, no? Like they don't want to be involved in this type of tradition. I just feel like maybe I'm just somebody like is daydreaming or something like that now. I don't know where I'm going. That is something that I feel.
The message there is we need you. That's what we really need to say to the indigenous young people, is that we need you. We need your intelligence, we need your enthusiasm, we need your health and well-being. We can't afford to waste you, and we respectfully ask you not to waste yourself.
Angel Tioko, o kanakwi libiti o Belize Indigenous Training Institute, nag-angelak o kritik angelak halakter kanil isan ish.
The important thing for us is that we are safe and secure within our land. So we have all the ingredients for success right now. We have support from ICC, we have support from Canada, we have the latest technology to do our work. We have great people, Mayan people here that will be engaged in the work. And we keep trying, we keep building the capacity of communities that if I leave, somebody else will take over. So we will continue, and we will continue. We may not achieve exactly what we want, but we have to set an ideal, we have to set an objective, and we work for it.
If we come together and work together, we can develop this era into a modern society with tradition. If we have people understand the importance of co-managing the area, I think we can have a better future, or have our children to see what resources we have. That is the future vision for me then.
This traditional Maya ceremony is to heal Mother Earth. It is being shared with all the people of the world in the hope they will join together to restore health to the environment. Maya prophecy foretells of an earth-changing event at the end of Baktun 13, December 21st, 2012. They believe to ensure the change is positive and not cataclysmic, balance and harmony with Mother Earth must be restored.